Hey everyone, it's Peter Kerr from Daydream Nation, and welcome Martin Popoff back to the channel. How are you, Martin?
Yes, how you doing? Looking forward to this. Any day talking about the Damned. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I love this band.
Absolutely. It was about a year ago that we did the Ranking the Damn show, and I thought it was a good opportunity to get Martin back on the Daydream Nation because the Damn have put out a new slab of vinyl, Darkadelic, which is their 12th album. It came out about 3 to 4 weeks ago. I thought it'd be a good opportunity to talk about the album, our first impressions of the album, maybe spotlight a couple of songs. And then, Martin, I wouldn't mind talking about this little book, which you can get on Martin Popoff's website and all good bookstores, called The Lively Arts. We'll have a little bit of a discussion about that. And maybe we could revisit the ranking that we did of the Damn a year ago and see if there's any changes and maybe where Darkadelic fits in the ranking. So I'll throw it over to you, Martin. What was your first impressions of Darkadelic, the new Damned album?
Yeah, I really liked it. I was not a big fan of Evil Spirits. I thought the production was a little conservative and sort of flat, and the guitars weren't very heavy. I got to interview Dave for this new album, so I got some impressions from him. And one of the things he said is that he wanted it to be more guitar-y and more heavy and more lively, and I think you definitely get that out of it. I love the boldness from the drum sound. They've got the new drummer in there as well, who does a great job, right? So you get a great drum sound. You get a great guitar sound. The whole rhythm section is pretty lively. You got Paul Gray in there again. He writes one and co-writes on a few others. And then Monty's in there with a lot of cool keyboard and synthesizer sounds. So it's, every song is pretty. I mean, there's a lot of melody and a lot of basically conservativeness to the way the Damned write songs. They're kind of typical songs, but there's really interesting chord changes, and I think you do get a lot of good lush production, but it still has some bite to it.
Absolutely. I agree with everything you've said. To me, I thought it was a more muscular album in the guitar sense. Evil Spirits was very Baroque, but definitely there was a lot more grunt in the guitars and the bottom end. And it's always good, Paul Gray doing songwriting. And I agree with what you're saying about the new drummer, William Granville Taylor. He adds a lot of oomph on the bottom end across the tracks. But I guess I've played this album over the last couple of weeks. It's a slow burn. It didn't hit me straight away, but over time, it does reveal enormous pleasures, and we'll get into the songs in a moment. Look, to me, the Damned are still fiercely creative. A lot of the lyrical content, there's a lot of social commentary. They cover a lot of their favorite sort of gothic type topics, sort of funerals and dark romance and pop culture, like with the Hammer horror. And even when you look at the album cover, you've got that sort of imagery, and you go into there, it's got like the old Universal logo, but it's got the Damned. So it covers a lot of the familiar themes. One of the interesting quotes, I think it was Captain Sensible, I saw a recent interview. He said, "The Damned never repeat themselves." And I tend to agree with that. And I did see that article with Dave Vanian that they wanted to do a more muscular, potentially a 70s guitar album. So, Martin, maybe we could just take it in turns, pick a couple of songs that you'd like to spotlight to the folk out there.
Yeah. Okay. So, I found that quote really odd about the 70s guitar thing. I don't know exactly where that comes from, because I'm getting more of a Strawberries Black Album vibe, a little bit of surf, a little bit of, 60s psychedelia, goth, across the tracks. One I really like a lot is actually the Captain song with Captain singing Bad Weather Girl. I love the sort of goth intro on it. It's a sensible Gray right. It is Captain singing it, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yes.
I think it's the only one. It's the only one that Dave doesn't sing, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, really love the chords on it. I really like Motorcycle Man, which is the sole Paul Gray right. It's the heaviest song, the most frantic song on it. fast punky one, but Monty's got a really cool keyboard solo going in there as well. Sounds to me a little bit like an old Brian James kind of Damned song. Leader of the Gang is one I didn't like very much. That jumpy beat, it's a little bit too surfy, B-52s Farfisa sounding sort of thing. Roderick's pretty amazing as well. One thing that I found really funny is how you've got You're Gonna Realize and Western Promise, and they start exactly the same way, which is really funny, with the same chord and the same kickoff, and then they change. But you play those two, and it's really funny. And I brought that up with Dave, and he says, "Oh yeah, we just thought it was kind of a cool thing. You know, I'm writing these." So he did a lot of writing on his own sort of thing. So they kind of worked in clusters that way. Yeah, there's a couple highlights for you.
Yeah, nice. I like the first song off the album, The Invisible Man. It's got this swampy, psyche blues riff, a lot of fuzz, a lot of attitude. I think it's a really dynamic opening to the album. I think my favorite tracks is going to be Beware of the Clown. It's obviously a very social commentary on the political leaders, or the state of the political leaders in the world. But the guitars are up front, and it's got a lot of muscle and a lot of crunch, and it's really, really catchy. And Paul Gray's Rickenbacker bass just bubbles along. This is a really good headphones album, folks. You can put it out without the headphones, but you can hear a lot of sort of subtle instrumentation that you don't normally hear on the headphones. It's really, really good. Wake the Dead. So the background to this song, Martin, was that a lot of Damned fans have Damned songs playing at their funeral, so they thought, well, we'll write one for you. So I thought that was very novel, that they wrote hilarious. Their own. They wrote their funeral song, and it's got all that gothic imagery that we love. Love the quiet. I love the quiet moments in the song, because you said that earlier with Oxymoron. The light and the shade, those little keyboard washes are very emotive and very melancholy and haunting. Motorcycle Man, to me, is one of the few album tracks that actually harks back to the early days. It's a little bit of a hint, because the Damned, to me, are a band in three parts. You've got the punk era, you've got the psychedelic era, and then you've got the gothic era. So this album plays very much to the middle period, which is the Strawberries Black album, with a little bit of the gothic, anything Phantasmagoria. But there's a little bit of a hint with the early period, and I think Motorcycle Man, because it's a balls-out rocker, it hints back to maybe the debut and the second album. I don't mind that at all. Roderick, beautiful gothic song. Edgar Allan Poe. Dave Vanian does his wonderful Scott Walker. From Your Lips, which is the second last one. That's another. Gothic lyrics. Vanian is the romantic, debonair crooner. That's a nice song. But I think the standouts are the muscular guitar songs, like The Invisible Man, Beware of the Clown. So that's what I think. So do you agree? It plays more to the band of being in three parts, that it does play to that middle era, the Paul Gray era, like around Black.
I would say so. It's hard to say the three parts. I can see the first three parts, but then after anything, we get the mixed Damned again, which is like, I don't know what to call that part, right? Everything after anything. But another interesting thing about it that I liked is that the Invisible Man and You're Gonna Realize video, you've got the old car and the spy thing. So there's a real, and the cover of Evil Spirits is kind of like this as well. So the old film noir spy sort of situation, and Dave Vanian, you got guns in these, and the sunglasses and the big trench coats and everything. So it's kind of cool. It's almost like a ZZ Top thing where they got a bit of a theme going. It's not so much in the Beware the Clown video, but yeah, there's the three videos from it, which are really cool. What I really like as well is, I would totally agree that this feels most like the Black Album and Strawberries out of any of them. but I really like the chord changes. There's kind of really non-obvious melancholic chord changes to it. You're going to realize it's definitely one of those. It's a driving thing, but it's kind of melancholic as well. You know, and you got the arpeggiated guitars and mellotron in there and horn arrangements, and I guess Wake the Dead also has female backing vocals in it. As well. So yeah, really some good lush stuff that you don't really notice. It's almost like the Damned do a really good job of making conservative, normal A to B songs, choruses, verses, and stuff. But like you say, it's a headphones album. You start hearing all the details that they put in all along the way, and they don't come to you sort of right away because they're rocking out effortlessly and having a good time at being this 60s psychedelic sort of band. So yeah, I think it's a great balance of an album. The songs all feel super consistent with each other, except for Roderick, which is the outlier.
Yes.
Much better album than the last one.
Yeah. What do you think of the production from Thomas Mitchener?
Really good. I really think this is a good, bold, full, lively sound. There's enough grit in there as well. Everything is kind of like the volumes of everything seems about right. Monty is put in there with a lot of variety, and he sounds good. And yeah, the drumming's super lively as well. Boy, what do we have for recent albums? Grave Disorder and Jack and the Beanstalk, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, they all sound pretty good. It's just the only one that I didn't like the sound of very much is the Tony Visconti album.
Yeah.
I just found it too well behaved. It seemed like it's a little bit like modern day AC/DC and Status Quo, where everything's written pretty heavy, but you don't really hear anything that they're doing as heavy because they've just decided on this sort of tame way to do the guitar, bass, and drums thing. Yeah, it's funny. Like I listen to all of Power Up, and I think the songs are pretty heavy written, and everything basically, after the Razor's Edge, essentially. And it just feels like, okay, we've decided on the specific dialing in of the guitars. Same with Status Quo, and if I felt like that was happening on Evil Spirits, where it was just a little too clean.
Yeah. Do you think this is an album that would get new fans, or is it really preaching to the converted? Because I did a show a couple of months ago with Andy Blacksugar, guitarist in Blondie, who were supported by the Damned, and he said in America the Damned basically played a greatest hit set. They didn't play any of their new album. Do you think this is the album that they could sort of get new fans in territories like the States?
Man, that's such a strange question when you think of how many generations have gone by and how many different changes in this band, and the fact that they're an original punk band. It's like, yeah, I hear a lot of rock stars sort of say this, and it almost feels like, and I've always rankled about the question of what's the song you would play to entice a new fan, right? Do you play something really characteristic? Do you play something odd? Do you play their best album and then they're disappointed with all the rest? And so it almost feels like a palate cleanser where it's almost like you want a 17-year-old to a 25-year-old or whatever they may as well just come in with this one. It's not off-putting in any way. I think also, come to think of it, a younger sensibility may find a bunch of that old stuff just too noisy, right? And this just, I just feel like they may as well. I don't think you're going to sell. Young fans aren't going to be super appreciative of the history and know all the history. So you may as well bring them in with something like this. So yeah, it's funny that they don't play anything off it. They could go on tour and play only stuff off of this. I don't know. Who knows? But I don't feel like it's particularly, it certainly wouldn't turn anybody away.
Yeah. So the Damned is still wildly creative, and over the last couple of years, like in 2019, they had a gothic show called Night of a Thousand Vampires, where it was all a dress up and they were dressed up in Hammer horror characters, and it was very theatrical. That was a DVD and a live album. And of course, last year, the Fab Four got back together, Scabies, James, Vanny and Sensible. Do you think in 2023 onwards that the Damned have another punk album, a real raw, crunchy, a la first two albums in them, or this is going to be the sort of material that they will continue as a recording act?
I feel that like they're such musicologists and they love music so much, and they love the history of surf and psych and 60s music and goth, you know, all eras of goth. And, you know, talking to Dave, he loves getting horns into the equation, and we've got Monty in there as well. So I don't really see the need for that. I don't feel like Captain feels like he has to be a punk rocker really either. You know, I'm almost surprised that that there's not more Paul Gray on this album. I mean, there's a little bit. I think there's about 4-ish songs that he's in on, but yeah, maybe this even could have been a little looser and a more, because every song is sort of essentially a regular drum beat and a regular tempo, maybe a little faster up tempo or slower. There's other than Roderick, there's nothing too super strange on here. So I almost think that they might have an even more wildly creative album in them again. You know?
Yeah. I tend to agree that
things, right?
There are some songs on this album where they do let the outro go. It doesn't finish where you expect it to go, and it does do a little bit of a left turn. So you can see that there is a little bit of a jam aesthetic about it. When you were interviewing Dave, did he give you any sort of tidbits about the making of this record? Anything that you want to share, or not really?
There wasn't anything too super revelatory. I was kind of saying mostly one studio. I think Roderick was more of a Dave solo put together situation. He just mentioned the guitars. I guess he mentioned that. Was it? I think it was. Yeah, I think he was talking about, you know, the new drummer being a younger guy and bringing that sensibility to it as well. But yeah, no, he didn't bring up too much about that. We had a nice, good long chat. Talked a lot of good history and things as well. So
nice. Are you surprised that Dave's never done a solo album as a solo artist? He's always been a part of a band, and does he sort of think? Do you think he just this is like his solo album, and he's got the freedom to do whatever he wants within the Damned? Is that why you don't think he's ever done a solo album?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I mean, you would think maybe he would, but then there's a little bit of Dave's personality that is standoffish, distant, not that engaged. You know, they used to complain about him, you know, swanning in late or not coming up with the lyrics or not writing or whatever. A little bit of the cool rock star about him, a little bit of the Lemmy about him as well. So you almost wonder, is he not that interested to be doing the Damned and a solo career? And B, I think what you said is kind of makes sense as well, where he gets to do everything he wants to do anyways here. He's clearly the leader, I think. And I think he could get all his creative jollies out here. But yeah, he doesn't strike me as a guy who wants to make 2 records a year every year.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, what I might do is I'll bring up on the screen, technology permitting, and we might just revisit the rankings from what we did last year. So I'll just put this up on the screen. So if you can you see that? So
yep.
I got Martin Popoff ranking the Damned, and you had, I'll just go the top 5. Top 5 was Damn, number 5, Music for Pleasure, number 4, Black Album, number 3, Strawberries, number 2, and Machine Gun Etiquette at number 1. Any changes in the top 5 at this point in time in 2023?
Well, let's see. So, I like the top 5. Let's see. We've got, so Who's Paranoid, number 6. Now, thinking about where I would put this in, I think I would put this as number 7 now.
Right.
Yeah, so I would go. So Who's Paranoid, number 6. Just love that album. You
Yeah.
know what? Okay, I'm going to give you a change. Damn it, I'm going to go for this because I really, in my heart of hearts, I believe this, and it doesn't seem right, but I'm going to. So I think I'm going to move. So Who's Paranoid up to number 4.
Right.
So we're going to go so Who's Paranoid, Music for Pleasure, Damned, Damned. And then I'm going to go with the new album and then Phantasmagoria, Grave Disorder, Anything Not of This Earth, Evil Spirits.
No problem. All right. Well, I will put that at the end of this clip because I don't want to stuff up. My technology is not that great at the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
This is my top 5. So I rated Phantasmagoria at number 5, the Black Album at number 4, Damned at number 3, Machine Gun Etiquette at 2, and Strawberries number 1. With Darkadelic, I would probably push Evil Spirits down a notch, and I would put that just behind Phantasmagoria. I really rate Darkadelic quite highly.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very strong album, and one that requires a lot of listening. It does reward the listener. There's a lot of great stuff. Martin, this wonderful book that came through, I think earlier this year or late last year, The Lively Arts. Do you want to tell the viewers a little bit of background, how long it took you to put together, and maybe, just a little bit of background about putting this book together?
This is one of my favorite books. I got about 115 books at this point, and this is truly one of the favorites because it's along the lines of 2 of my other favorites, which are The Clash, All the Albums, All the Songs, Led Zeppelin, All the Albums, All the Songs, where essentially what I did with those was write, good, long, substantial reviews, analysis, put in all the trivia about every single song in the entire catalog of those 2 bands. So I've always had it in mind that it would be really cool to do one on the Damned. Unfortunately, it's out of date now because we do have a new album. It came out before Darkadelic. But yeah, love it to death. It's just a trade paperback. The other ones are, hardcover throughout, full color throughout, beautifully, laid out coffee table books. This one is not that, but it's got good bones, as I say. It's a really good read. I really like it. So yeah, every single Damned song, and that includes all the, the massive B-sides that they put out all along the years as well, and non-LP tracks. This is a band with a lot of non-LP tracks. So that's all in there too. You get that at martinpopoff.com. I sign them, send them out from the office here in Toronto. There's PayPal buttons for Canada, international, and US. Yeah. One of my favorite books that I've ever done.
Yeah, it's a wonderful book to read, viewers. Look, just a question for you. Was there any sort of bits of information that were really hard to pin down? A lot of investigative work. Was there things that were holding up the book, that there was certain, pieces of a puzzle on a background to a song, or who played on a particular
there's a lot of that, and I can't think of any specifics, but yeah, it's funny. You essentially, what happens is you get 2 or 3 conflicting stories, and then you realize, after you do a lot of books, you realize how it's not exactly that the stories conflict, it's that there's gray areas between them. So you don't really, there's often not really a true answer. Sometimes if you're feeling really confident about it, you'll put in an answer. Sometimes you'll rewrite it so it's vague and and you don't know whatever. But yeah, there's this is a band with they have a moderate amount of information out there on them, but not really a lot. So what I really liked was putting on the headphones and seeing what's going on in the right channel, the left channel, listening for those sounds, describing those sounds, reading the lyrics intently, and give my opinion on what's going on in the lyrics and stuff. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, to me, what it serves as, it's like the perfect set of liner notes for a box set or a reissue of these albums, and you just play along, read one song, play the song, read another song, play the song.
Yeah. And finally, is there a particular person that you would really like to interview and ask a particular question that you haven't, that is part of the Damned story?
Yeah, I've never interviewed Monty. I definitely would love to interview Monty. I've kind of not super hard asked a few times, but and it's funny. I've interviewed Dave a lot of times. Dave seems to be the main spokesman of the band. It'd be nice to talk to Captain again. I haven't talked to Captain for quite a while, but all those guys. But yeah, I've really, I think I've been pretty thorough with both Rat and Brian. I've talked to them a lot, and then in that Damned book, I've got a few minor characters that I've talked to as well along the years. But yeah, I think it'd be nice to have that first interview with Monty. Never had an interview with Monty, so
yeah. Well, I'm actually seeing the Damned next week. They're heading our way. They're doing the New Zealand Sydney tour, so I don't know. I might do a doorstop and I'll bail up Monty and say Martin's after you.
Yeah, that would be really cool. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Martin. It was great to have a chat. And look, folks, do yourself a favor. It's a really good album. It's worth listening and buying, and it's out at all good record stores, CDs. And you can see Martin on Sea of Tranquility, The Contrarians, and various other channels. And please like and subscribe to Rock Daydream Nation. And Martin and I inevitably will be doing another show very soon. Cheers.
All right.
See ya.